BigHit finally open voice. But why do their statements actually raise more questions than answers? When BTS's Jin was rumored to be the main star in Coldplay's megastar concert, global fans were split. Is this the peak moment for Jin, or a controversial move from HYB? And why do Coldplay fans call this too much for Chris Martin? BigHit open the voice. BTS's Jin to headline Coldplay concert? There's something wrong behind the spotlight. What's going on between BTS and Coldplay? Why is it that just as the world is celebrating Jin's return from military service, the shocking news comes that he will be the headliner of a Coldplay concert? Not just a guest appearance, but a real highlight. And why did BigHit suddenly feel the need to issue an official statement about this, as if there was something deeper than just an ordinary musical cooperation? It all started with a photo shoot. A sketch of the photo shoot was widespread in the fan community, showing the figure of the genie in a majestic pose, standing alone in the center of the stage against the backdrop of a galaxy, themed visual synonymous with the aesthetics of Coldplay concerts. But the most disturbing thing is not the presence of the genie, but the absence of Chris Martin in the sketch. Where's Chris Martin? Why isn't it in this visualization? And more importantly, did Coldplay really give their main stage to the genie? Coldplay fans on various forums reacted immediately. Some refer to this as a silent insult to Chris Martin. Some even say that HYB has exceeded the limit. However, what gives goosebumps the most is the statement of an unnamed insider. This is not just a guest appearance. Jin is being groomed as a global new face icon, more than just a K-pop idol. Does this mean that HYB is pushing Jin to take the position that Chris Martin has always held at Coldplay concerts?
Why?
Is this an overly aggressive globalization strategy? Or was there a tacit agreement that had been formed even before Jin was drafted into the army? When the official statement from BigHit appeared, it was not a sense of relief that fans felt. Even on the contrary, in diplomatic sentences that seem designed to calm, instead, a gap appears that harbors anxiety. We appreciate the collaboration that has been established with Coldplay, and Jin's participation is part of a deep appreciation between two of the world's great artists. But isn't that too vague? Why not immediately refute if the rumors are false? Even more surprising, Jin himself had not said a word. Not through Weverse. Not in live streaming. Not even in the small uploads he used to give after concerts or big projects. Was he ordered to remain silent? Or did he not know how far HYB planned to go? A mysterious audio fragment claimed to be a leaked recording of HYB's briefing session even referred to the Coldplay concert as Project Polaris. The word Polaris in astronomical language refers to the North Star, the pointer, the only star that does not change position. Is the genie being symbolized as Polaris?
And if so, who assigned that symbol to him?
HYB or Coldplay themselves, the army was divided. Most are very proud. They see this as a new milestone. Not only did Jin return, but he was immediately put on a world-class stage, side by side with Coldplay. But there are also those who feel that this is not natural. We don't want Jin to be a face to mask HYB's internal conflict, wrote one fan in the international community. We want the genie for itself, not as a commercial tool. And when Chris Martin's name was barely mentioned in the promotional campaign of this concert, speculation grew even more unstoppable. Does Chris Martin allow this? Is this the result of a two-agency deal, or is there something that makes Chris take a step back? There are even unsubstantiated, yet alarming, claims that Coldplay are under immense pressure from Asian sponsors to pave the way for a Korean face on their world tour. But the real surprise came from a sentence in HYB's release that almost went unnoticed. We believe this is the right time to introduce a new harmony between Western and Eastern cultures. What does this sentence really mean? Is the genie just a symbol of the confluence of cultures? Or is it HYB's first step in creating a new global musical current that no longer needs Western recognition? And in all this euphoria, awe, and tension, one question remains. Why now? Why is it that after 2 years of barely being active on the international stage, Jin instantly returns with a bang of this magnitude? Is this a form of compensation from HYB for his vacuum? Or is there any pressure from within to make Jin a tool to divert public attention from the issues that are hitting the big agency? Because there is no denying it, lately, HYB has been under the spotlight. Issues of media manipulation, neglect of the artist's mental health, to internal conflicts between label units, all appear insistently. And in the storm, Jeannie's presence at the Coldplay concert was intended as the ultimate answer to all doubts about their power. But is that so? And what about Jin himself? Does he want all this? Or will he be the star of the show? ARMY is waiting.
Coldplay fans asked.
The music world held its breath. Because in the near future, we will not only witness a concert, we are about to witness history or the next big scandal in the world of global entertainment. And to this day, one sentence still reverberates throughout fandom discussion forums and social media. Did Jin really become the main star, or the ultimate victim of HYB's boundless ambition? In the midst of the excitement of the ARMY welcoming the news of Jin's involvement in the Coldplay concert, suddenly the facts emerged that actually made all the euphoria murky. An outstanding stage visual sketch shows Jin standing in the spotlight, alone, against a backdrop of galaxies and cinematic effects, not as a guest performer, but as the center of attention. Some observers called this sketch a visual for the main promotion, rather than just a companion. But where is the figure of Chris Martin in all this? None of the teaser material featured the lead singer of Coldplay. In HYB's early digital releases, only Jin's name and an ambiguous lineup mentioned, a special appearance on Coldplay's world tour. Even promotional hashtags use the phrase hashtag Jin with Coldplay more than hashtag Coldplay with Jin. Is this just a marketing strategy, or really a big change in the concert map of the world? A number of Coldplay fans began voicing their concerns. We love Genie, but removing Chris Martin from this picture is nothing to take for granted, one fan wrote on Reddit. On the other hand, some of the ARMY defended this decision by stating that Jin had long had a special relationship with Coldplay, having even performed a live duet with them on the song The Astronaut, written specifically by Chris Martin for Jin. But is it really about personal relationships? Because of the secrecy, there were also hints that Jin's appearance was not a direct request from Coldplay, but rather part of a lengthy negotiation between HYB's management and Coldplay's global tour promoters. It was even rumored that there were large funds flowing in as a form of sponsorship from HYB for Jin's name to be included in the concert series. If this is true, does this mean that HYB is buying a stage for Jin? And the most emotional question of all, does the genie know about this? Or was he just running the script that had been set for him since the beginning of his comeback from the military? The happiness of the Jin fans was obvious. After 2 years without his voice, they are now greeted with a burst of big news. The worldwide handsome will return to the stage, and not just any stage, but the stage of Coldplay, the legendary band of the world. But did all this come from the genie himself? Or was this the grand strategy HYB had devised even since Jin was in military uniform? In a fan signing session last year, Jin once said softly, "I want to perform again, but not if it's not my time." The sentence now weighs on its own meaning. Because if it is true that Jin is currently the main star of Coldplay concerts, then one big doubt arises. Is this the time he chose or time imposed on him? Meanwhile, Chris Martin has not issued any statements.
No tweets.
There is no official statement. Even Coldplay's account was very minimal to contain interaction about this collaboration. A silence too sharp for the size of a cooperation of this magnitude. And Shut It Up began to arouse suspicion. Some critics of the entertainment industry began to attribute this big move of Jin to the internal crisis of HYB. More recently, issues of artist overpressure, the freezing of some idols, albums, and reports of losing control of certain contracts have put HYB on edge. In such a situation, suddenly raising the name of Jin, who was returning from the military as the spotlight of the world concert, was felt too coincidental. Many asked, was the Jin sacrifice to cleanse HYB's face in the eyes of the world? Because in every major crisis, HYB always has one last weapon. To distract the public through the great momentum of their top artists, I ask this what's going on. The leaked visual of the shooting sketch implies a lot. One of them is the position of the Jin described as the center of the universe. With open arms, light shone from behind his body as if he were the light source of the whole performance. The words indicated under it in Latin read, Lux Solis, which means the light of the sun. This symbolism is too great to be considered accidental.
Jin is not just a guest.
It is made porous. But is it an honor or exploitation? Surprisingly, the design was not created by the Coldplay team. Information from a designer who declined to be named stated that all referrals came directly from. Initially, the news of Jin's appearance at the Coldplay concert was warmly welcomed by many fans. But within days, sarcasm and discontent began to flood social media. On Platform X, trending hashtags such as hashtag Coldplay is not HYB and hashtag Respect Chris Martin appear alongside hashtag Jin on World Stage and hashtag HYB using Jin. The fandom that was supposed to support each other is now split. Most of the army stood up for Jin, calling it a fitting moment for the eldest taehyung after 2 years of absence. But not a few also began to doubt. We love Jin, but this is not how it works, wrote one of the big fanbase accounts in Korea. Meanwhile, the Coldplayers, nicknamed Coldplay fans, began to question their management's decision. On one